I've been driving a 2026 Subaru Uncharted front-wheel drive. I was really excited to finally get an opportunity to try out this car for real. I've had it on my lot for the last couple of months already. Since then, I've been very excited finally to have an opportunity to test out this car, not only in a short test drive scenario, but actually in a daily driving, getting to experience what it's like to own a Subaru Uncharted and what some of our new owners at Go Richmond Subaru might be in for if they decide to go with this car. To start off, the Subaru Uncharted is a brand new model for 2026, Subaru's second entry into the EV segment after the Solterra. Similar to the Solterra, the Subaru Uncharted was developed in partnership with Toyota. So underneath the traction battery, the electric motor, overall underpinnings of the car are actually shared with the Toyota CHR. There are a couple things about the Subaru Uncharted that make it stand apart from the Toyota CHR. Although the shape, kind of silhouette of the vehicles are pretty much the same, Subaru and Toyota do have very distinct styling. Of course, styling is always very subjective. Personally, I think that the Subaru Uncharted has a little bit more distinct styling compared to the rest of the Subaru lineup, but also it has a very aggressive looking front bumper. I think that the tail lights on the car on the Subaru are a lot nicer. The 2026 Subaru Uncharted front-wheel drive, it is the base model for the Uncharted. It offers amazing value. When we take a look at the specifications on the front-wheel drive model that I'm driving right now, has a 57 kilowatt hour battery and it has a rated range of 399 kilometers. What I've found with the Subaru Uncharted after driving it for a little while is that the efficiency is actually through the roof on this car. I do kind of mixed between highway and city driving. I found the average to be about 12 to 15 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. When I was actually looking at the range on a full charge, I was able to get more than the quoted range. At 100%, I was actually seeing closer to 410, maybe 415 kilometers on a full charge, which was very surprising to me considering Subaru and Toyota rates this powertrain at only about 399 kilometers of range. What that tells me is that if you were really using this car for day-to-day purposes, even if you were looking at varying weather conditions, you're probably going to pretty reliably get close to 400 kilometers of range on a full charge. In my opinion, day-to-day driving, especially if you have charging at home, is going to be more than enough. Sticking to the specs of the car, the Subaru Uncharted has a peak charge rate of 150 kilowatts, which is more than enough for most purposes. Even if you're taking a road trip, especially with a battery this small, you are only going to be spending about half an hour at the charging station to get from 10 to 80%. Continuing on from the specifications, the Subaru Uncharted front-wheel drive has about 168 horsepower, but I think that the main focus of the Subaru Uncharted is not performance. You're looking at an EV that is not only practical, but very easy to bridge the gap between owning an internal combustion engine car into an EV. And I think that was sort of the purpose of the Subaru Uncharted as well as the Subaru Solterra. The intent of the Subaru Uncharted very much was to create an EV that more or less felt like an internal combustion engine car. If you are thinking about a Subaru owner who is coming from a Subaru Crosstrek or a Subaru Forester, the Subaru Uncharted is going to make them feel right at home. It's going to be a car with very similar controls, very similar features, design language, and overall, the driving feeling is going to be much closer to an internal combustion engine. Aside from the Uncharted front-wheel drive, there is also a larger battery model, the front-wheel drive long range, which gives you an extra 20 kilowatt hours on the battery, increases the range closer to about 500 kilometers. Aside from the front-wheel drive long range, there are also two all-wheel drive models, the Uncharted Sport as well as the Uncharted GT. The Sport and the GT, they have a little bit more power because they are all-wheel drive, dual motor. A lot of Subaru owners, they buy Subarus for the all-wheel drive system. So you must be thinking, why would anyone consider a front-wheel drive Subaru? The answer is, it still gives you that capability. And on top of the capability, when you're looking at an EV specifically, you're going to be looking for that efficiency. With the Subaru Uncharted, this powertrain definitely gives you a lot of efficiency. So a couple of really cool things about the Subaru Uncharted that after driving for a little while, I've really grown to like. I do really like the paddles on the steering wheel. Essentially, that is a regenerative braking adjustment. In a lot of EVs, you're looking at touchscreen function to adjust the level of regenerative braking. And one thing that I really liked about the Uncharted is it gives you that traditional car paddle shifter experience. They're very tactile, gives you a nice click to it, and you can use those paddles to adjust 4 different levels of regenerative braking. And rather than just having like an on or off mode or high or low mode, it gives you 4 different settings so that you can really customize how much regenerative braking you're getting on the Subaru Uncharted. Another thing that I really like about the Uncharted is its sound system. It's an amazing sound system for a car at this price. It's only got about 6 speakers, but the quality of the sound, especially after adjusting the EQ a little bit, can rival cars that cost 50 to 75% more than what the Subaru Uncharted costs. The infotainment design is also very nice. I quite like the fact that they use physical dials for the temperature adjustment, for the front defogger, as well as for the volume control. It's kind of balancing the tech-forward, large touchscreen, lots of features and apps inside the vehicle with that tactile feel that I think most car owners want. Unless you are very tech-forward, unless you were leaning more on that Tesla side of the design spectrum, you're going to appreciate having physical controls. The Uncharted also comes standard with a very nice and solid feeling shift rotary dial, very clear and ergonomic instrument panel that sits right at your sight line to make seeing your speed, your driver assistance features very easy to see. Speaking of driving assistance features, even on this base model, you're basically getting the full adaptive cruise control, lane tracing, and all those safety features that most owners want in their vehicle. You don't have to add any options. Just from the base model, you're going to get all of those features. Another design feature that I quite like about the Subaru Uncharted is the steering wheel. The steering wheel on the Subaru Uncharted is almost a square, hexagon kind of shape. And what that means is that you have a flat bottom, which gives you a little bit more knee room and that sporty look, as well as a flat top, which lets you see the instrument panel a lot easier compared to on the CHR. So on to a couple things I'm not a huge fan of on the Subaru Uncharted. There's no one-pedal driving. A lot of traditional OEMs making EVs actually don't have one-pedal driving. I think that one-pedal driving is a little bit of a controversial feature, especially if you're not coming from already an EV ownership mindset. A lot of times in the past when I was doing test drives with first-time EV drivers, the first thing that they complain about is how uncomfortable the car is. The main factor was when they let go of the accelerator pedal, they're thrown out the windshield. Most internal combustion engine car owners, they're used to lifting and coasting, right? So you're driving along, you reach the target speed, and then you let go of the accelerator, and the car's going to keep on coasting. Now, that's where the main difference between an EV and an internal combustion engine car comes in. ICE cars do not have regenerative braking. You're not able to recuperate that energy that's wasted. With an EV, once you let go of the accelerator pedal, the motor is able to reverse its polarity and it's able to recuperate that motion and use it to charge the battery. The amount of electricity that's generated in regenerative braking is almost as much as a DC fast charger, which means that you're not wasting energy, you're not burning out your brake pads. You're using that electric motor to slow down the vehicle and charge the battery at the same time. With the Subaru Uncharted, the regenerative braking isn't that strong, which means that if you let go of the accelerator pedal, the car will slow down, but it's not going to engage the full amount of regeneration so that the car doesn't slow down as quickly. Now, most first-time EV drivers, when they're driving an EV, they'll let go of the accelerator pedal and there's going to be so much regeneration that it slows down the car way more than they expected, and they end up having like a very uncomfortable driving experience. I've even had people get sick and essentially throw up. What Subaru did was they made sure that the regeneration on the car wasn't that strong. Even if we have the regeneration setting set to the highest amount, once you let go of the accelerator pedal, it actually only slows down about 50% its full potential. The next 50% of the regeneration actually comes when you step on the brake. What Subaru and Toyota did was they sort of blended the amount of regeneration between letting go of the accelerator pedal and actually stepping on the brake pedal. You're essentially using the brake pedal to activate regen braking on the car. You don't have that big learning curve in order to get from an internal combustion engine car to an EV. It's not going to scare away those first-time EV drivers. Coming from an EV background, it's definitely an adjustment back towards an internal combustion engine car kind of experience. Now, on that note, another thing about the car that I'm not a huge fan of is the vehicle hold mode. For some EVs, you can turn on and off a function called vehicle creep. Now, vehicle creep is when you let go of the brake pedal and the vehicle slowly rolls forward. On the Subaru Uncharted, you don't have that option to turn it on and off. Vehicle creep is always going to be on. However, they do have the brake hold function. Most ICE cars nowadays have the brake hold function, where once you engage the brake hold and you come to a complete stop, the car is going to keep itself stable. It's not going to move. On the Subaru, the brake hold does take about a second on the brake in order to engage. However, if you're used to the brake hold functions where you come to complete stop and the car automatically holds itself right away, then the Subaru Uncharted is going to be a little bit of a departure from what you're used to. I don't think that it's necessarily a bad thing. It's just something that you need to get used to. I think that it really comes down to whether you're used to something or not. No matter what, if you're coming from one type of car or one brand of vehicle, it's going to take some time for you to get used to certain features anyways. If you were to come from an internal combustion engine car into the Subaru Uncharted, you're going to feel right at home. Now on to pricing. The Subaru Uncharted is very new, so there are no used cars. We can't really see what the depreciation is. Subarus are industry leading in terms of residual value. And we can see that with 2-year-old Subaru Crosstreks. Their price doesn't depreciate much from when they were brand new. If you were to buy a Subaru brand new and trade it in after 2 years, you're not really going to see that much in depreciation, especially compared to a lot of other EVs. The Subaru Uncharted front-wheel drive model starts at about $46,000 to $47,000 depending on where you buy it, and that's not including manufacturer rebates as well as provincial rebates. Here in BC, Subaru currently has a $5,000 manufacturer rebate on it. There is a $5,000 after-tax rebate from the government. Locally, you could probably buy a Subaru Uncharted for as low as about $36,000 to $37,000 plus taxes, which is amazing value. You're not going to see better value anywhere else. So on to the driving experience. The Subaru Solterra offers a little bit more of a traditional driving experience, the best parts of internal combustion engine cars. The steering feels very tight, the suspension feels very responsive, and if you're throwing the car into a corner, the weight from the battery really keeps the car planted. Even though it's not a performance car, you almost feel that performance car level of grip. Especially with a car that's not super powerful, it still has a lot of torque. So it almost reminds me of my first car, the Volkswagen GTI. It's very torquey, it's very planted, and for a car that isn't performance oriented, you're still getting a lot of performance out of it. If you're looking for someone's first car, or if you're looking for something very economic, something with a lot of good value, again, bang for your buck, not only in terms of performance, but safety features, entertainment. I think that the Subaru Uncharted is amazing value. I think that the car itself looks great. It's super practical as well, very spacious for the footprint of the car. Good amount of storage space, even though it's a fastback kind of design. It really is the total package. If you're looking for something that's easy to park, I think that you're probably not going to find a better package than the Subaru Uncharted, especially within the EV space. Ultimately, if you want to get just a good daily driver, if you want something that's very efficient, that gives you a lot of range, I think you can look no further. The Subaru Uncharted is probably going to be one of your best options. And I know I may be a little bit biased because I am an EV sales manager for the Subaru brand here in the Lower Mainland, but honestly, I've driven a lot of EVs, and one of the main reasons why I wanted to work for Subaru in the first place was because of that focus on their EVs, because of their focus on how they design their EVs. If you are in the market looking for your first EV, I think that the Subaru Uncharted would be an amazing option for you. Stop by Go Richmond Subaru, talk to one of my sales advisors, and we'd be happy to help you. Once again, my name is Daniel. I'm the EV manager at Go Richmond Subaru, and this is my manager demo.